Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. If you've met me before, welcome back, and if you haven't, I'm Ash. Today we're diving into part 2 of some Among Us art and reviews. Last time I talked about white and blue and gave them a new asheville coat of paint, and this time I'll be giving lime and orange the same treatment. Spoilers ahead, I will obviously be talking about the show. As a segue from last video, I'll start with Lime and Blue's relationship. As I mentioned, I adore them. They give very Old Man Yowie vibes, and despite both of them being very over the top, like all of the characters are, I really enjoyed Blue as the straight man and Lime as the over the top caricature of this conspiracy theorist character. And might I say, Wayne Knight voiced this character incredibly well. I originally thought it was John DiMaggio who played them. Lime very much sounds like Jake the dog and also like Bender from Futurama. The only thing I've seen Wayne Knight in is Space Jam and the Toy Story movies, I think, but he did a fantastic job in this role. This is something I will probably say about all of the characters, and as I mentioned last video, I was just really impressed with the voice cast. They were able to have emotional complexity and range while also keeping like comedic voices. And specifically Mr. Knight did a very good job at being able to play the peaks and valleys of a over-the-top, very yelly conspiracy character. It really helps the characters, especially Lime, feel really fleshed out, especially with Lime because they are third out. We don't actually get to see much of them. Because Lime genuinely believes everything they're saying, I loved the decision for their line deliveries for all of their jokes and like point and laugh at the dumb conspiracy guy moments to be pretty deadpan.
Yes, sir. Squeezing through those hot metal tubes is like the warm caress of a perpetual adult childbirth.
Probably a glitch.
Bah! Glitches are just big tech's way of gaslighting your computer.
Yeah. Those words are all in a sentence.
I'm our engineer.
I'm also an ordained minister.
Oh.
Touching on Blue again, I loved how the show wasn't afraid to show two masculine-leaning characters having romantic chemistry. This is evident throughout all of Blue's character, obviously, but this very almost Texan Republican character that Lime is, who believes they put microchips in children through vaccines, being portrayed as unapologetically queer is very fun, and I'm a big fan. And as far as I can tell, Lime is the only one that Blue in any capacity reciprocates the romantic like advancements. Like when Cyan is swooning for them at one point and they like kind of like pass out essentially, Blue drags them out fairly coldly, but they are so sweet to Lime the entire time. They're like holding their hand and just being like, "You saved me." In conclusion, they're in love and I love them. A bit on the art that I'm doing now. My goal in these videos is not to redesign them, but just interpret them in my style and also as humans. Lime was super fun to draw because they really do like the kind of character they're meant to evoke. Country guy who uses holy water to defend themselves from an alien. The overalls and Stain also really read as an engineer. They really remind me of Swansea from Mouthwashing, both very disillusioned older people, despite Lime only being 6. Who are the type of people I can like if they're not real. Like, they do look like they'd call me slurs, but they're in a cartoon, so I can get behind them because they won't call me slurs. Also, Lime is pretty gay. Is Lime a major caricature and one-note kind of character? Basically. Do I love them and think they are the funniest thing ever as well? Absolutely. Lime is probably my favorite character from the show. I just love a guy I can laugh at really easily, and I like just dumb characters. Also, their design very much has the energy of like a spacefaring like dad character. Like, I could definitely see, at least the way I interpreted their design, and even just the character in the show, being the kind of like Joel from The Last of Us or the Mandalorian, like finding a child and having to like be a caregiver. Obviously, Lime is a lot less serious and more delusional and funny, but they have like that very like older man energy, which I really appreciate. They're kind of giving DILF in a non-binary kind of way. Another thing I really liked about Lime is, despite being this very almost MAGA character, they never like use them to make fun of or use like jokes, like offensive jokes. Like, I could definitely see this kind of character being used as a way to, like, yes, make fun of MAGA people, but also you could use it as, like, they could have used them as an outlet to make more, like, transphobic and racist jokes. So I was very, like, happy that they didn't do that. I unfortunately can't think of an example off the top of my head of a character who is like a making fun of Republican character but also says like racist jokes, just because I don't actually watch anything like that. This show is very much out of my comfort zone of what I usually watch, but kind of think like kind of Andy from Steven Universe. Significantly toned down, obviously, but in Steven Universe, his Uncle Andy, comes back and is like very like, get out of my country, you illegal aliens, to the Crystal Gems. And obviously that entire thing is used to make fun of MAGA people and Republican people more specifically, and Andy like learns his lesson and like becomes a better person. But I'm sure adult cartoons often don't give that character that message. I've never seen South Park, but I'm sure South Park has characters like that. They have like a liberal family, I believe, that they used for an entire episode essentially to make fun of like trans women athletes. And so, whilst not the exact example, they were using these kind of characters to make fun of the character that they are meant to represent, but also make fun of minority groups. That is a bit of a tangent, but I did want to mention it because I was very happy to see an adult cartoon with a more like unserious backdrop like Among Us not take the easy way for comedy. Not that I think those things are funny, obviously, but they are fairly marketable and people like it, unfortunately. So yeah, I was very impressed with that specifically. On to our designated exposition dumper and loyal HR rep. As our first imposter, I have so many questions. Mainly, ew, what the fuck? And I'm super confused on whether or not Orange was like always an imposter. The wiki and internet say that Orange dies as a crewmate sometime during the show before Lime, and it's only then overtaken by an imposter. But I did not get this impression at all for them or Green. Orange is quite clearly so much bigger than the ones from the eggs that appear in like the last episode. So if one of them did kill and replace Orange, it surely would have been done before the events of the show. But I just don't know how people came to this conclusion enough that it's considered canon. I've seen nothing in the show on my rewatches to prove this, but it's on the wiki, and obviously the wiki is not canon. But the wiki is usually a pretty reliable source because autistic people don't like their hyperfixations to be fucked with. Regardless, I love Orange. The beef between them and then union workers, and just how impossibly upbeat they are, lends itself well to the jokes played at their expense and the ones that they make. The whole scene where they're discovered as an imposter, when they're pushed into the trash chute, are all very fun. I do wonder if Green led them, like the crew, to Orange killing Lime on purpose, because they very much did not seem to like this younger imposter getting in their way of like their kill. count and territory, I guess. But also maybe they were just trying to frame Lime because Lime did have a weapon. Along with Purple and Red, Orange is a very interesting character for the Mountains of Among Us lore we get to learn. I am definitely interested in a sequel season exploring not only more lore and new crewmates, as the lack of any pink characters other than like the Mirror HQ guy is genuinely a crime, but also to explore other maps like Mirror HQ or Polis. I think any of those maps would make a wonderful backdrop for like a prequel following the reactor explosion Red and Purple were a part of. I'm not saying I'd like them to milk this, but I am saying they did a very good job at interesting me in the lore and world building of the goddamn Among Us world. If anyone's interested, Orange was my main during the height of Among Us, so they definitely hold a special place in my heart. I used to wear the leaf accessory and be like a carrot. And then when Orange was taken, I would be the lime, and I'd be like, I don't know, some kind of other root vegetable. I didn't think that hard about it. Regardless, Orange and Lime are probably my two favorite characters from this show. I think Orange is adorable, and I'll say it again, the voice actor did a phenomenal job. Orange is very endearing, especially when they are trying to like lie and hide being the imposter. Just them being asked like, Orange, you gonna kill again? Yeah. What was that? I said yeah! It was very endearing. I think it is very, very fun. Also, all of the fan art of Orange is kind of sexy as hell. I love them. They're smash. I said it. I went down an extensive rabbit hole of watching like TikToks of Orange when I was not researching for this video, but trying to come up with inspiration of what other people were interpreting their human forms to look like. I'm a really big fan, as I mentioned in my last video, of this kind of in-between human and Among Us style that a lot of people draw these characters in. I think it really is a very interesting thing and works very well for making these characters a lot more recognizable, because Orange was kind of the only character that I couldn't really find a spot for the orange to be on like their human interpretation. I ended up making them ginger, which is, as far as I can tell, a pretty unpopular thing to do for their human design, but I wanted them to still very much read as an orange colored character. They are unfortunately reading as very brown just because their actual outfit in Among Us is very brown. But it is what it is. I also saw someone, I think they specifically like ship green and orange, presumably because they're imposters, point out something really interesting is that Orange's kill is brutal as fuck. They absolutely destroy Lime, shred them to pieces. Green does not do that with white or blue, but they do start doing that after Orange's kill. So they were like, headcanon, bro is inspired by this level of brutality. And I thought that was cool, so I'm mentioning it here. I cannot remember where I saw that because, once again, the rabbit hole that I was down was quite deep. But if I locate it, I will like drop the TikTok in the description. In any news, this is about where I'm going to wrap up. I don't really have anything left to say about these characters specifically, but as you'll notice, this video was a little bit longer than the last one, and that's because, as we get more episodes of content of these characters, these videos are probably going to get longer because I have more to say about them. But in any case, I hope I see you next time when I will be doing probably yellow and brown, and I'll be talking about how platonically or maybe romantically in love they are. I haven't decided yet, but they are married. I will say that. So see you next time. Bye!